The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. Imagine a single man sitting in an office in California, holding the off switch for the internet of an entire continent. A man who has already shown during a live military operation in Ukraine that he alone decides who stays connected and who gets cut off. This week, Namibia looked at that reality and said, not here. But this isn't just about Namibia. To understand why Elon Musk's Starlink was just exposed and rejected, we have to look back at the battle in South Africa, the land of Elon Musk's bet, where the government demanded 30% local ownership. And the billionaire responded by calling their laws racist. Today, we are diving deep into the high-stakes chess match between African sovereignty and digital colonialism. This is a story of two nations that refuse to trade their laws for a satellite dish. The new colonialism will come in different form. Let's go back to where the friction started. South Africa. The law there is clear. Under Electronic Communication Act and Board-Based Black Economic Empowerment, BEE, requirements, any foreign telecommunication company wanting to operate must have at least 30% ownership by historically devastated, disadvantaged groups. This isn't a suggestion. This is a legal pillar designed to correct the deep systematic scars of apartheid to ensure that the wealth generated for South Africa consumers stays in part with South Africans. But how did Elon Musk respond? He didn't just disagree, he went on his platform X and attacked the policy. He claimed Starlink was being blocked simply because it isn't black. He called the law racist and pushed a narrative that white South Africans were victims of genocide. South African officials hit back. They pointed out that hundreds of American giants, from Microsoft to Google, operate in South Africa in full compliance with these laws. The issue wasn't Musk's race, it was his refusal to follow the rules that every other company follows.
Ltd has been formally published in the Government Gazette as of yesterday, the 23rd of March 2026. This engagement serves to provide context to that decision and to reaffirm the authority's commitment to transparency, regulatory certainty, and of course the rule of law. CRAN's mandate is to regulate the communication sector in a manner that promotes universal access, fosters fair competition, and supports Namibia's digital transformation. In doing so, the government through the authority seeks to balance the encouragement of innovation and investment with the need to ensure full compliance with the legal and regulatory framework governing the sector. Namibia's telecommunications sector continues to evolve with ongoing investment infrastructure, increasing service availability, and a growing range of offerings aimed at improving connectivity across the country. The authority remains focused on ensuring that this progress is sustained, inclusive, and aligned with national development objectives. It is therefore that the application submitted by Starlink Internet Services Namibia, Pty Ltd, or Starlink in short, on the 1st of June 2024, sought a Class Comprehensive Telecommunications Service License, ECS and ECNS, as well as a Spectrum License for fixed satellite services. CRAN then informed the applicant to approach the minister responsible for ICT as per Section 46 of the Communications Act, Act number 8 of 2009, to then seek the exemption in terms of ownership under that section. It is on the 1st of July 2024 that the applicant then approached the Minister of ICT in terms of applying for the exemption under that particular Section 46 of the Act. Subsequent to that, consultative Sessions were held with different stakeholders around the specific application on an exemption, and a decision was then communicated to the Communications Regulatory Authority of Namibia and the applicant in relation an exemption of ownership in accordance with Section 46 of the Act. The authority undertook a comprehensive and structured assessment of that application thereafter in accordance with the Communications Act and the applicable licensing and spectrum regulations. This process was guided by the principles of administrative law, including legality, rationality, proportionality, and procedural fairness, and included consideration of public submissions. The application was evaluated against 6 prescribed statutory criteria, namely competition, technical and financial capacity, frequency availability, ownership and control, national defense and public security, and lastly, compliance history.
So Namibia recently made headlines by rejecting Starlink's entry into the country. And it's important to talk about why this is, because I think it's one of the really interesting things about Namibia. It wasn't about rejecting innovation or rejecting Starlink technology. It was about enforcing the rules. Namibia requires telecommunications companies to include local ownership and follow national licensing laws. Starlink applied without meeting the requirements. So there are also bigger considerations: protecting local businesses, ensuring fair competition, and maintaining control over their data and infrastructure. What this shows is Namibia is thinking long term. It's not just about getting fast internet today. It's about who benefits, who participates, and how the country grows. They have a plan. And even if it's like short term going to give them jobs and have the internet, that will help certain people to be able to have access to online platforms, all those things, they're not going to give up what is important to them long term for the long term vision for the short term gain. The long term vision is coming before the short term gain. And that's why with the business that we do, Shofar Business Consultants, my husband and I, we counsel people to get into business with Namibians, because when you have a Namibian ownership, that changes your business. It's not some foreign company now. Your company is owned by a Namibian also. Also creating partnerships with Namibians. So maybe you don't want a Namibian owner, but you can find ways to partner with Namibians. This helps you fit into what the country wants. You don't come into a country and start pushing your way around and deciding what you want to do. What was important to us is reading up and learning about what does Namibia need? What does Namibia want? What are their priorities? And we read the priority manifestos and the things that they put out about what they want to happen in the country. And that is how we formulated our business structure and our plan for how we were going to do things. Because if you want to be a foreigner in somebody's country and come in and invest and do this or that, you have to follow the plan that is set forth by them. And that's the best way to gain goodwill, the best way to assimilate and integrate into a country, and the best way to continue to be, to have visa renewals and opportunities to continue operating, because the country at any point can decide that you don't fit their bigger picture. And if you're not integrated with the Namibian economy in a way that matters to them, you can be pushed out. And that's just a part of the business of living abroad and trying to do business abroad. So the important thing to think about this Starlink situation is just a reminder of how important those values are to Namibia. And then you can't just come here and decide that you're going to change the rules because you're rich.
Have you seen how they try to twist the narrative whenever it doesn't suit them, or we refuse to bend our laws just to suit them? After the standoff in South Africa, many thought Starlink will find greener pastures in Namibia. They expected a smaller nation to open its arms for the promise of high-speed internet. They were wrong. On March 23, 2026, the Communications Regulatory Authority of Namibia, CRAN, officially published their rejection. And Namibia's laws were even tougher than South Africans. They require 51% local ownership. Starlink met the technical criteria, but they failed on 3 things that matter most. 1. Ownership, control, and national defense. Ownership and control, national defense, and compliance history. Starlink told Namibia, because of our global shareholding structure, we cannot accept local ownership. Essentially, they told a sovereign African nation to change its laws to fit a billionaire's business model. Namibia's response: application denied. Why does ownership matter so much? Because of what happened in September 2022 during a critical Ukrainian military operation against the Russian fleet. Communication was suddenly cut. Why? Because Elon Musk decided the coverage shouldn't be active in that zone. Shouldn't be active in that zone. One man, not a general, not a president, influenced the outcome of a war. Every African leader should be asking if he can do that in Europe. What stops him from doing it during an election? Or a protest in Africa? Or a dispute over mining rights in Africa? When your internet doesn't come from cables in your soil or towers on your land, but from satellite owned by a man with massive US Pentagon contracts, you aren't just a customer, you are a dependent. So looking at all these things, we Africans need to advise ourselves. Here is the part the Western media ignores. Starlink is a product of SpaceX, and SpaceX is currently building Starshield, a dedicated military satellite network for the US Pentagon and the Space Force. The company that wants to connect your rural schools is the same company building spy satellites for the most powerful military on Earth. When Starlink enters an African country, it brings with it the eyes and the ears of a foreign superpower, completely outside the reach of local regulations. So looking at all these things, as Africans, do we have to choose internet speed over our sovereignty? We must be honest. 25 African countries have already said yes to Starlink, in place with no fiber and no towers. The internet is a lifeline. We cannot ignore the need for connectivity. But Namibia and South Africa are teaching us a vital lesson. Connectivity without sovereignty is just another form of dependency. Namibia isn't anti-technology. They invited Starlink to resubmit if they follow the law. They are proving that Africa is no longer a place where foreign companies can operate with impunity, ignoring local regulations and insulting local laws when they don't get their way. So this is something that we all need to follow as Africans. Sovereignty is all that we need in Africa. This is the African, this is, we deal in analysis, not emotions. The rejection of Starlink in Namibia is a victory for the principle of reciprocity. If you want to do business on our soil or on African soil, you must respect African people and African laws. What do you think? Did Namibia make the right call? Or is the need for internet too urgent to wait for 51% ownership? And why do you think Elon Musk was so loud about South Africa and so quiet about Namibia? We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world in Africa, Southern Africa, and in Namibia.